Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
You know how the CBC comment section is either a one-sided cesspit of radical leftism and nothing else, or the comment section doesn't exist at all, depending on the story and the topic? Well, that is because the CBC carefully curates their comment section to make sure the only voices that are ever seen or heard are the ones that support the CBC and their left-wing narrative, which by extension, and I guess a $1.5 billion subsidy bribe per year, also means a narrative which supports Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Now, we all intuitively know this to be true, right? But let's set aside our completely accurate gut feelings about the CBC and anecdotal experiences with watching and reading things published on the CBC today, and instead take a look at some hard proof in writing of how CBC controls, crafts, and contrives the news using the very tight grip they have on their comment section. That's a comment section all Canadians, even conservative ones like me, have the unfortunate duty of paying for. Rebel News has obtained exclusive access to information documents about CBC's comment section and how the comments are managed to amplify the opinions of some Canadians and censor and silence the facts provided by others. And they do this along political lines. Here's the document itself. We will attach it in the body of this rebelnews.com article for you to be able to read it in full for yourself, because you should not have to take my word for anything when you can read the documents with your own eyes. It's only 42 pages long. However, it's internal CBC emails and notes about how the comment section is handled based on the content of the story and who's in the story. We know that CBC didn't like President Trump, that's obvious, but the website managers blocked any comment that linked to a Trump video that would prove the CBC's lies to be false. We'll get to that story in a second. We also first learned that CBC was very worried about controlling commenting on a Wendy Mesley story after she was suspended for repeatedly using the N-word in CBC work meetings. Look at this on page 1. It's pretty clear the CBC thinks that they can't have viewers asking about what horrible word Wendy Mesley used. Hi, Spencer, Press, and Irene. The moderation team is asking for guidance on audience attempts to speculate on what word was used. Now, further down, we can see that CBC didn't even cover the story of Wendy Mesley's suspension from the network on some of their own websites, particularly Radio Canada. Thanks, Pierre. To my knowledge, this story is not covered anywhere on Radio Canada's site or social, but Via Fura is ready if needed. Can you imagine the 5-alarm supernova fire that CBC would be consumed by for days if a conservative had said what Wendy Mesley did? But since she's one of them, they admit to not even reporting the story on Radio Canada. On page 6, staff are seeking direction on controlling comments about the Capitol Hill riot. So let's not allow links to Trump videos, they said. So if CBC falsely reported that Trump incited the riot at the Capitol, commenters could not fact-check the CBC in real time by providing a link to what the president actually said to the crowd that day. For example, here is this CBC article. Pro-Trump protests turn violent on West Coast after riots locked down U.S. Capitol, from CBC News. The protests began shortly after Trump addressed thousands of his supporters on Wednesday at a rally near the White House, repeating his baseless claims of election fraud as lawmakers were preparing to receive the votes for president from the Electoral College. We will not let them silence your voices, Trump told the protesters, who had lined up before sunrise to get a prime position to hear the president. But in the comment section, you could not actually put a link to what Trump said that day. Look at this. Twitter deletes Trump tweets amid violent Capitol Hill riots from The Independent. Now on page 8, with no self-awareness whatsoever, CBC disables comments on Canadian trust in journalism is wavering. Here's what CBC News is doing about it. Article, despite specifically asking for feedback in the article. And they did this until a former CBC journalist complained, and then they opened the comment section up a little bit. Look at this. Normally, we consider criticism about moderation to be off topic, but in this case, we feel that type of criticism is allowable in the context of this article. And then they redact the name, but they said that that person summed it up well. Given that the blog ends with, as always, I trust you will let me know what else we can be doing to earn and keep your trust. I think we have to be pretty open to any criticism on this one, or we risk being considered hypocritical. Yeah, no kidding. And then to honor the spirit of Brody's invitation, the comments below sent to Brody sparked the review of the comment thread. The moderators are reviewing the deactivated comments on this article and are publishing anything that meets this more open standard. Wow. That's right. CBC censored the feedback in the comment section that they specifically asked for in the article. On page 10, unlike the treatment that they gave Wendy Mesley, protecting her from speculation, CBC allowed comments speculating that Trump was lying about having COVID, but you couldn't say it was a hoax specifically. Look at this. FYI, here's how moderation is being handled for comments on Trump COVID stories. The following types of language are being disabled or removed. Number 1, karma, poetic justice, irony, suggestions that it's staged, a hoax. Page 14, CBC online comment moderators were told to focus on removing COVID-19, quote, misinformation. Now, the date of the announcement is April 1st, of course, April Fool's Day. Look at this. Good news. We have created new guidelines regarding misinformation, disinformation, and harm in online comments. See below. As some of you know, we have been aware for some time now that CBC needed guideline language to enable the moderators to remove online comments that contained misinformation or disinformation and or the potential to cause harm. Now, this includes attempts to mobilize people for any purpose outside of a CBC event. There's also a list of other banned things here on page 18, like brand criticism of CBC. That's not allowed in the comments. No criticism for them. Page 21 and 22, we can see BuzzFeed, Vox, the World Health Organization, and Snopes are among CBC's trusted COVID sources. All of these sources, by the way, allegedly debunked the very real lab link hypothesis of the genesis of the COVID-19 pandemic. Here's BuzzFeed. Did COVID-19 coronavirus escape from a lab in Wuhan, China? Trump supporters are spreading the rumor, but there is no proof. BuzzFeedNews.com. Vox has been stealth editing their past articles to fix their whole debunking of the lab link theory. Here's somebody on Twitter who took the time to document all the stealth edits that Vox has been making to their article debunking conspiracy theories that COVID-19 originated in a lab leak between its original publication in March 2020 and, of course, right now. Oh, and here's Snopes, trusted fact checker Snopes. The origins and scientific failings of the COVID-19 bioweapon conspiracy theory, Snopes.com. An increasingly resilient class of coronavirus rumors asserts that SARS-CoV-2, the novel coronavirus that causes the disease COVID-19, was created in a lab. Most iterations of the rumor claim the virus was accidentally released from a high-level infectious disease research lab in Wuhan, China. The purported origin of the outbreak, and some suggest the virus itself, was designed there to be a bioweapon. This post addresses the origins of these rumors and exposes the falsehoods and scientific realities that undermine such claims. So next time you get yourself censored by the CBC for disinformation, consider it a badge of honor, considering the places CBC considers trustworthy news sources. And in contrast to the CBC, you can see all my sources and you can fact check me as we go. All these documents that I've been reading from today are here for you to read because Rebel supporters have generously funded our access to information investigation into the CBC and into other public agencies and governments by their donations to rebelinvestigates.com. So thank you to everyone who has donated and who continues to donate at that special website to help us uncover what the government and the government's enablers are doing behind closed doors. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid. If you'd like to continue to help us fund our access to information investigations into the government, and in the case of this story, the CBC, so, the government's enablers, please donate today at that special website, rebelinvestigates.com. It is time-consuming, it is arduous, and it is expensive because we often have to launch appeals. Again, that website is rebelinvestigates.com.